Welcome to Foreclosure, the American Nightmare, and guiding homeowners back to the American dream. My name is Valerie Fuson, and I'm with Keller Williams, and I'm a real estate broker. And this is David Schneider with Advanced Residential Solutions. Dave, can you tell us a little bit about your company?
Sure. I'm the owner and founder of O'Hara Properties and Advanced Residential Solutions. We are a group of investors who work with homeowners who are facing challenges with their lenders and providing them alternative solutions to the problem. As part of our program, we provide educational programs as well as a website presence that will educate homeowners as well as realtors on the process, the foreclosure process, as well as various solutions to the foreclosure.
Great. And you have a lot of the training online for homeowners.
Yes, we actually have a website dedicated to homeowners and realtors, which will explain the processes, the various solutions to their problems, as well as educational videos that they can follow to help them fill out their paperwork as well.
Terrific. Every time we pick up the newspaper or turn on the news, there's articles, the headlines are on foreclosure, the housing market drop. Drive by any neighborhood and you'll find a lot of foreclosure signs. Today we're going to focus on the homeowner and the strategies that they can take to help them either stop or avoid foreclosure. We're going to discuss in a 4-part series. 1, what happened to the American dream? The housing market, the recession. 2, the homeowner's option who may be facing foreclosure or loss of equity. 3, the short sale process. And 4, now what? Credit restoration and the return to home ownership. Dave, I've been helping homeowners for the last 30 years, and we've been through a few recessions over that time. How is this recession a little different?
Well, Valerie, this recession is a lot different in the fact that it's a consumer-driven recession. Consumers have lost their jobs, major drop in income. They're losing their homes at an accelerated rate, whereas past recessions were more cyclical in that GDP, or gross domestic product, was reduced. However, the consumers didn't feel the impact of it because they still had access to credit as well as keeping their incomes and positions.
Now, over the past few years, we see a drop in prices during a recession, but this is the first time we've seen one this deep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In this recession, as well as housing downfall, I mean, this is more of a housing crash than anything else. We've seen housing values drop 30 to 40% in most markets, and some of the faster growing markets, they drop in greater than 50%.
Mm-hmm. And I know the banks and the government regulations are trying to put some balance into the housing market. What do you think is the impact of these changes?
The government has provided various programs for homeowners. However, we feel that most of those programs only help a small percentage of homeowners. There's various programs from Hope Now to the HAMP program, HAFA, programs that provided loan modifications on a trial basis. They also provided short sale solutions in case of the HAFA program and provided them on a trial basis as well. However, we felt that the majority of these programs had a limited success in helping the homeowner through that process into a successful conclusion, whether that's keeping the home or to sell the home.
Mm-hmm. And when we think of a foreclosure property, we think of the impact on the homeowner. But the banks actually have a financially unstable property. What would your definition be of that?
Well, a financially unstable property would be one which is an unwanted property. In the case of, say, a divorce or job loss, in a situation like that, or they could also be an income property that is producing a negative cash flow. Tenants moved out, they're unable to re-rent the property, and therefore they've fallen behind on their mortgage payments because they didn't have the rent income to cover it. And then of course there's also inherited properties, whereas a family inherits a property from a lost loved one and they can't afford to make the mortgage payments while they're trying to resolve the estate, and the property falls back into foreclosure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the state of Illinois is a judicial state. Can you explain the process of the judicial foreclosure?
Well, Illinois is a 7-month state. It's considered a longer state than normal. We go through a judicial process with the foreclosure. So there's actually parallel processes that continue on, whereas you have the bank that files an official foreclosure in the court system. So there's a foreclosure that proceeds to the court system, is heard by a judge, and we have approximately 7 months to resolve the situation. At the same time, the homeowner can resolve their situation by working directly with the lender and enjoy the same timeline. So they are parallel processes, but it's actually an advantage to be in a judicial state because you can actually work through the court system if your efforts with the loss mitigation departments or the banks fail. You still have another legal recourse as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of the other states, their process is a lot quicker.
Absolutely.
The banks take over the property sooner.
In some states, they have as little as 3 weeks, which does not provide them enough time to pursue all of the solutions. Mm-hmm. You know, states such as Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, there's a few others as well. So in those situations, a homeowner has to act fast and take action, you know, in order to avoid the foreclosure.
Okay. Dave, can you explain a little bit more about the timeline of the judicial foreclosure?
Sure. In Illinois, it is a judicial state, as I mentioned. However, there is a process that the homeowner goes through during the foreclosure. The homeowner will miss their first payment and then have 3 months before the bank will actually file an official judicial foreclosure against them. The banks are anxious that the homeowner contacts them during this time period during the first 2 to 3 missed payments or even the 4th missed payment. And the banks will try to work out with them or do a workout with them during this period, and that may dictate whether or not the bank will actually file an official foreclosure against them through their plaintiff's attorney. During this process, they can try to do a loan modification, they can try to do a forbearance plan. Hopefully we'll be able to talk more about this shortly. After 4 months go by, most banks will file an official foreclosure, which means they will hire an attorney. The attorney will file paperwork in the courts, in the circuit courts for each county, depending which county you live in. And once that process begins and that official notice is filed, the homeowner will then approximately 7 months during this time to solve their problem before the house will actually go to auction. So, but during this time also, the banks are anxious to hear from the homeowner. So it's very important that the homeowner contact the bank and discuss their solutions and discuss their situation. Because the sooner the homeowner can address the problem, the sooner the bank can give them guidance as to what they can do in terms of solutions. Some banks have different policies, of course, so therefore you have to find out from your lender what their specific policies are. Homeowners can also work with foreclosure professionals, whether or not they're real estate agents, investors, attorneys, loan modification companies, who can also guide them and help them through the process and get them to the right solution. Typically, what happens is that the judicial process will begin after the 4th missed payment. They will have 7 months. The homeowner will be asked to appear in a hearing when they receive their official notice. Usually they receive the notice in the mail, and then they will have about 45 days to respond to the notice, and then they will receive a notice to appear in court. At that time, they should appear in court, now whether it's themselves personally or through a representation, such as an attorney. They can file an appearance and then proceed through the process, so the judicial process will begin at that point. So they've got the opportunity to address the issue either through the court system as well as through working directly with the loss mitigation. But keep in mind that in a judicial state, such as Illinois, the actual foreclosure is a civil lawsuit, or what's called a lis pendens, which means it's a foreclosure pending against the homeowner. So therefore, they need to make sure they address both sides, not only working through the court system, but as well as working directly with loss mitigation, or sometimes it's just through the collections department and finding a solution.
Now, in talking to some of the homeowners that I'm working with, we noticed that the first 3 months, they're in pre-foreclosure. And then once they get the notice, that's the judicial notice, and that's when it goes to public record.
Yes.
Correct.
The process is still considered pre-foreclosure process, though. They're still in the pre-foreclosure stage of the judicial process. They don't actually receive a foreclosure on their record. They actually receive what's called a lis pendens on their credit report. So if you pulled your credit after the bank has filed foreclosure, they will receive a notice on their credit report indicating there is a lis pendens filed. However, that is not a full foreclosure, or does not reflect an actual auction occurring with the homeowner. So therefore, they still have 7 months during that pre-foreclosure stage to solve the problem.
And it's just advisable for the homeowners to do it as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Find out what their solutions are as soon as possible, so they can make a decision, intelligent decision.
Absolutely. Regardless of the solution that the homeowner chooses, it's extremely important that they take action, contact their lender, go ahead and discover what alternative solutions that their lender can offer them before making that decision. One of the processes that we take our homeowners through is we provide them the education, the documents, and all the alternatives before making a recommendation, and also providing the opportunity to review those documents with their attorneys, tax accountants, as well as any other representatives, and as well as their family members before making the final decision as to what they want to do.
Thank you, Dave. In this section, we discussed what impacts the recession has on the American families, the dropping housing market, and the bank and government guidelines and regulations, and how that's impacting the homeowners. In the next session, we will discuss what options homeowners have who are facing foreclosure, loss in equity, or higher mortgage payments.